just thinking about this experience of relocating a show, were there any surprises? Because I know the kind of transition of objects and exhibitions are planned so carefully, but it's sometimes not until you see things in a different place, in a different room, with different conversations going on between the objects, that sometimes new relationships are made apparent, or formal contrasts, comparisons come out. So were there any things that you saw very differently when you viewed the show here for the first time? Glenn, I'm going to hand this to you.
Okay, no pressure. Gosh, well, in a way, everything is a small, pleasant shock when you see the objects recontextualized and you know them so well. I can't underline enough to you, those of you in the room who aren't curators, how great it is to have your show happen twice, and once with you not having to do very much to make it happen. So it's a real pleasure to see it here at the Fitz. A couple of things that leap out to mind for me would, first of all, it's not exactly a surprise, but it's really nice, is the fact that the William State Murray bather, we haven't talked about William State Murray, but he was one of the great figures as a modernist potter before the war, and very much somebody that Leach felt rivalry with and was unkind to, both personally and historiographically in the 1930s. But there's a wonderful striped Sung Dynasty pot here in the Fitzwilliam collection that we did have at Yale, but they were across the room from one another, and actually seeing them right side by side, it just allows you to indulge in that possibly fantastical scenario where Murray himself was here at the galleries at the Fitzwilliam and saw that pot and thought, I can turn that into a bathing costume. It's rather nice. I guess the other thing that I would just want to mention, partly again because we haven't talked about it, is Matt Smith's installation, which is about the Parian ware collection here at the Fitzwilliam. And if you keep going past our exhibition, you get to this beautiful octagonal space where the Fitzwilliam's Parian wares are on view with these very suffused wallpapers behind them. And then if you carry on into some of the other galleries, you'll see some of Matt Smith's own sort of deconstructivist postmodern Parian collages talking to the exhibitions that are already on view in those permanent collection galleries. And it's been great to be able to have at least a little bit of a gesture in the direction of the figural tradition. So it's been great to have that as an extra context too.
I'm just really pleased Glenn picked up on the bather, because that was one of the juxtapositions when I mentioned about mixing things up. That was one of the things we were most pleased to be able to do. And yeah, and I'm also very pleased that the original curators like the show here, because they were very generous in letting us do what we wanted, but that means there was an element of will they, won't they. So we're really pleased that you've enjoyed what we've done with it here.
And I guess maybe I would just add that it's really interesting to see the exhibition here in the context of this enormous ceramics collection and the historic collections, and that and I was interested to hear Helen talk about that, and that the exhibition was also an opportunity here. It's not Coles to Newcastle, but it's actually an opportunity to show ceramics in a way that's very different to the kinds of displays we have through in these galleries, and that actually this temporary exhibition is almost like an intervention into those galleries and animates how we look at and think about the ceramic collection here. So that's been very different, obviously, to what we did at Yale. But I think it seems to have been a really equally useful exercise for you in that sense. So.
A question for Simon. You mentioned that the fluted bowl was given to Leach by friends in 1920. Did he record who the friends specifically were?
He did. They were his friends and colleagues from the Shirakawa Society, and it was kind of a formal gift. And there's a wonderful photograph of Leach in what is described as his last exhibition, which was a monumentally successful selling exhibition for him, at which I think the fluted bowl is part of that display. There are other works from his personal collection, so that's an extraordinary documentary record of him placing that work in the context of his farewell to Japan in 1920. Oh, yeah, the surprise. Well, a good thing, actually. I was astonished by the amount of light in the room here at the Fitzwilliam, and that was really wonderful because one comes from the Carlton building, it being absolutely suffused in light, and I remember the debates that we had at the Yale Centre about wonderfully securing that floor where natural daylight could play around the exhibition. That was fantastic. I think the other thing for me is the power of seeing the work of those makers who, with extraordinary generosity, loaned their work, but also made work for the exhibition. And the opportunity to work with Nao Matsunaga to make the moon jars that kind of aren't moon jars, but start the moon jar session off. Adam Buick made the classic moon jar directly as a response of the show. Jeff Lee put work into the exhibition, and the sort of primacy of that and the generosity of that was as moving in New Haven as it has been here at Cambridge.
Well, I think to keep on time, we should perhaps move on to our next session. But join me in thanking our 4 speakers.